Hi everyone! Welcome to this live stream. If you are joining this live stream, then please let me know in the comment section below where you are watching this from. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, if you are catching this via replay, then please leave a heart emoji in the comment section below. And with that, welcome to the Little Cup from New Zealand to Australia. I am your host, Binibining Veronica. O, diba? May pa-live stream tayo. Kamusta naman ang itsura ko? Ganyan talaga pag galing work. Okay, so if at any time in this video the video freezes or there's just a lag with the visuals, just stay with me. As long as you have audio, there will be value in today's discussion. All right. So we are actually going to talk about moving to Australia, specifically for nurses. All right. And syempre pa, disclaimer everyone. The information I'll discuss in this video is all about my personal experience. I am not a recruiter and I cannot offer any professional advice. So this is purely for entertainment purposes. All right, let's get on with the presentation. Oh, sorry, let me just check if there's any comments there below. Let me just leave a hello to everyone. All right, moving to Australia for nurses. So first is your Australian registration license. So if you already have your registration license in the country where you're practicing, you can apply for an Australian license through an outcome-based assessment pathway. So that's your OBA. Or if you are a nurse in New Zealand, you can apply through Trans-Tasman application. And I have created videos about that in the past, so please do check them out when you get a chance. In my experience, I was a registered nurse in New Zealand for a long time, and then I applied for my APRA, and then I got my Australian registration license. And I actually hold on to my license for, I think, maybe 5 years before I ended up moving. So yeah, it really depends. Some people I know, they applied for their APRA and then they've moved to Australia right away. And then there are also others who are like me, who waited, I guess, a little bit more before moving to Australia straight away. All right. And another option is the conversion pathway. Now, I'm not really familiar with this one, and in fact, there are limited number of schools who are offering the conversion pathway now. I think this is more available in a particular state, but not across Australia. And then the other option would be studying in Australia, as in starting from scratch. There are some options here. So, for example, there are some schools which offer 18 months, 15 to 18 months, I think, nursing diploma, and then you become an enrolled nurse after that. And then there are other schools which offers the full bachelor's degree, and in Australia it takes 3 years to finish, to complete. So yeah, so you know how in the Philippines, studying nursing, it takes 4 years to complete, and then we take our board exam and then become a registered nurse. In Australia, that's different. So nursing, you have to study for 3 years, and then they don't have a state exam. And like I previously mentioned, they have this short courses. I think it's 15 to 18 months, depending on which state you'll study, and then you end up with an enrolled nurse registration. So yeah, just a couple of options. I do want to include my video, but I know. So maybe I'll just do it without the video. Okay. Let me know if you want future videos about the conversion pathway, or if you are starting from scratch, if you want to know more about studying in Australia. But like what I've mentioned before, these two pathways are the most, I guess, straightforward application. So if you are going for OBA, if you are a registered nurse overseas, and then the other part is Trans-Tasman if you have a NZRN license. But again, I am not a professional agent. I am just sharing experiences from my own personal experience, okay? And of course, from publicly available websites. All right. So let's look at job application. So these are the websites which you can check for job application. So 𝐶IC.com.au. And then there are also government websites. So if, for example, you want to specifically work in a public hospital, so in Northern Territory, there's healthjobs.nt.gov.au. For Queensland, there's smartjobs.queensland.gov.au. For New South Wales, there's iworkfor.nsw.gov.au. For ACT, there's health.act.gov.au. For Victoria, there's careers.victoria.gov.au. For South Australia, there's sahealth.sa.gov.au. For Western Australia, there's search.jobs.wa.gov.au. For Tasmania, there's careers.jobs.tas.gov.au. So I think, if you are considering to move to Australia as a registered nurse, the first question that you probably should ask yourself is, where would you like to move exactly, do you have a particular place in Australia that you specifically want to move in, or is it more to do with the role? You're not really concerned where in Australia, but you have like a preference, I guess, of where you want to work in terms of the pick a pick. Take your pick. And I have created a video about the application process that I actually went through. So I got my job offer while I was still living in New Zealand. So that was really, I guess, convenient for me because at least I know how much I'll earn. I've sorted out all the pre-employment checklists, which, as you know, can be really challenging. Sorting out those pre-employment checklists, all the blood works that you have to do, the vaccination certificates that you have to provide, things like that. So it was good for me that I have sorted all of those requirements before arriving to Australia, and it gives me a sense of security as well because I already have a job offer. Okay. Let me just quickly jump to YouTube and just see if anyone is there. Oh, there's 2 people. Hello, people watching this live stream. How are you? Let me see if I can just quickly moderate that one. Okay. All right. It's a bit I'm trying to jump from different tabs, so just bear with me as I do that. I just want to make sure I'm not missing out on anything. All right. So we are back with your job application. Um, okay. We also have a group in Discord. So this is actually a Tagalog group chat. Thank you so much for all the moderators. When I started this Discord last year, it's more to do with nurses who are in Singapore, Middle East, and UK moving to New Zealand. And then there's also a group there for nurses who are already in New Zealand moving to Australia. So that's a topic that we discuss. However, it's all in Tagalog because we are Filipinos, so it's all in Tagalog. Thank you so much to all the moderators who were very generous with their time and with their knowledge, answering all the questions. Sometimes hindi ko na nga siya maasikaso, but so may mga moderators naman tayo, so very grateful for them. Alternatively, we have Facebook groups for New Zealand and then for those who are going to Australia. These are actually smaller groups. Medyo intimate. Konti lang kami, oo. Tapos, kanya-kanyang share lang din ng experiences. And then, obviously, you can ask questions as well in those Facebook page. Alright. Alright. So, more about our plane ticket and our visa. We moved to Australia early last year. Just a side note, we actually rented a car so that we can drive from our place to Auckland Airport, and we actually ended up staying in Novotel Airport as well. Because when you have a small child, you want your travel to be a bit easier. So it was a lot easier for us if we just stayed overnight in a hotel and then fly the following day. And then there's a ticket there of the expenses of the plane ticket and the check-in luggages that we have. I think meron kami siguro mga six luggages. No, medyo extreme, medyo OA. Pero anyway, I just put it there just to share just a point of reference. I think because when I was planning our move from New Zealand to Australia, it was difficult to find actual costs. So I wasn't really sure, are we spending a lot? Can we still spend a little bit more? For sure, yung hirap mag-budget kasi wala talagang budget that time. But I'm just sharing all the actual expenses to you as well, just so you have an idea as well. You don't have to spend as much. Obviously, your situation will be different if you have kids or if you're moving by yourself, but I just want to share like the actual numbers if that would help your budgeting as well. So for this one, this was a premium economy plane ticket, and then it's for 6 to 7 luggages that we brought with us. And then in terms of our visa, we are New Zealand citizens, so we actually have a subclass visa 444, so that allows us to stay in Australia indefinitely without having to actually, I guess, physically apply for a visa. So it's just automatic that as soon as we landed on Brisbane Airport, it was just automatically applied to us. So your situation may be different if you are not a New Zealand citizen. I left the immigration website here, Australian immigration website, but just know that it can be really overwhelming. So you know how in New Zealand, ang dali lang kasi parang visitor visa, work visa, resident visa, di ba? Parang ganun lang yung categories. However, in Australia, they have different work visas. Mga 482, tapos may mga 186, mga ganyan. So it's, I guess, if you are in the early stages of your planning, do take some time to read the different visas, join different Facebook groups as well, and ask around. Kasi it can be overwhelming in the beginning, and then you're not sure which one to apply for. Yeah, yun lang. But straightforward if you are a New Zealand citizen, it's definitely more straightforward in that sense. Alright, let me just jump to YouTube again. I have to apologize, guys, ha, kasi our internet, I guess, is not really built for streaming, but we are trying our best. Do leave a comment in the chat box below if you want to share anything, ask anything as we go through this live session. I think I haven't done a live video in a long while, and I always struggle with the internet connection. Like I said, I try to be as prepared as I can, but it can still be challenging, so bear with me, ha. Done. All right. So that's the plane ticket and the visa. That's the immigration website. Okay, the next thing we kind of planned for is a car rental and temporary accommodation. So we booked a car. I think we were while we were staying in Novotel Hotel, the night before our flight to Brisbane, because my husband actually forgot to book us a rental car. So anyway, we ended up with booking for this bargain car rentals. I still feel like it's really expensive, but because we were in a hurry, that's the best that we could get. And then it cost $323 Australian dollars, and then just a side note there, 323 plus we also had to pay for car insurance and toll fee. I can't remember how much it cost, but just to add that we actually paid extra, so it's a bit higher than that. And then my mouse stopped working. Hold on. And then the the temporary accommodation that we booked, I got that before, I think maybe 3 weeks before our flight. And it's really expensive because during that time when we moved to Australia, there's actually a rental crisis. Even up to now, actually, there's a rental crisis. So we didn't really know anyone in Brisbane who can look after us or like give us a have a place to stay during that time. So it was just really challenging. So we ended up booking for a 1-bedroom apartment because we couldn't really find an actual long-term accommodation while we were in New Zealand. Mind you, I've met someone from Auckland, and then she said that before moving to Brisbane, she was very lucky because they actually found a 1-bedroom house. So they secured that before their flight, but we were not so lucky, so we had no choice but to book to this hotel, which ended up being more expensive only because that's the setup, because it's a temporary accommodation. And then we also had to pay extra for car park, and then in total we stayed there for 14 days, so mas mataas pa dyan yung binayaran namin. So it's not really as practical. So again, if you are moving to Australia, do take some time to research about the accommodation. There is a rental crisis right now, and then it's really difficult if you don't know anyone. So I have few friends who moved from New Zealand to Queensland, and then this couple, they stayed with another friend's house, and then the friend I know from New Zealand to New South Wales, they also have their relatives, so they stayed in their home for a short period of time. So it definitely helps if you know someone, because you can stay in their house. Otherwise, if you're like us, I pray that you find a long-term accommodation suitable for your family so you don't have to spend as much. Yeah. And in terms of buying a car, I have already created a video about this, but the only thing that I might talk more on, converting New Zealand driver's license to Australian driving license, it was relatively easy. So I just provided my proof of ID and proof of where we were staying at that time. And yeah, it was enough to convert the driving license. I talked about the fees and more of that in the video shown in the screen below, so please have a look at that if you haven't watched it already. And then in terms of lending companies, just know that depending on which company you're going to apply for a loan for the car, their requirements will be different. So I've already touched this on the last live video that I've done. Pero kasi minsan may mga iba pa rin nagugulat na parang ang bilis naming nakuha yung car loan because, oh sorry, let me translate that. So I'm not sure if you can understand Tagalog, but from time to time I would slip and talk in Tagalog, but I'll try to translate. So I still get asked about the lending companies because some are surprised that we got our car loan with just a 1 fortnight payslip. We're just providing 1 fortnight of our payslip. But it really depends on the tier level of the lending company. So for example, your first tier lenders are typically your major banks such as Commonwealth Bank, Westpac, ANZ, and National Australia Bank. They are considered the most financially stable and have a wide range of products and services available to customers. However, they're also more, I guess, strict with the requirements. So when I applied for a car loan with ANZ, they asked us for 3 months worth of payslip. But unfortunately, I only had like 2 weeks to sort everything out because I am starting my job then. I only had like 2 weeks to sort everything out. So I couldn't really wait 3 months. So there's an option, a second tier lender. They are generally considered to be regional and customer-owned banks. They are not as large as the major banks, but they still have a significant presence in the Australian banking market. And then there are third-tier lenders, which are small financial institutions and non-bank lenders. So examples here would be your First Mac, La Trobe, Liberty, and Pepper Money. They are typically, but not always, have higher interest rates on loans. And for us, we actually went with Pepper Money, and it's really the interest rate is really high. So for example, depending on the car yard where you're going to buy your car, I had to pay for a $700 deposit and then 9% interest rate on and then the requirement is only 1 fortnight payslip. So isang fortnight lang. And then with my husband, he was asked to provide $500 deposit and then 13% interest rate, 1 fortnight payslip. And that's with Pepper Company as well. So see, the interest rate is really high. But yun nga, kasi for us, we really needed to have a car. And then we couldn't really pay it outright. So we had to apply for a car loan. And during that time, I really don't have the time wasn't really on our part. So yun, kaya ganun yung nangyari sa amin. So, may mga iba naman, no, you get different options. For example, some people, they buy parang cars that they can pay right off. They can pay with the cash that they have on hand. So that could be an option for you as well. Aba, bongga ka, di ba? You can, malay mo naman, di ba? Kaya ng budget mo. You pay your car right off. Go ahead. Otherwise, yun nga, you can go and apply for a loan, for a car loan. And then, yun nga lang, it depends sa'yo kung if you want to wait for 3 months, have that 3 months worth of payslip, and then mas maka-apply ka sa mga big banks. Otherwise, may mga option for third-tier lenders. However, the interest rate can be higher. And one thing I note as well, when we were looking for cars, the cars here in Australia, they are a lot more expensive. That's just my opinion anyway. They're a lot more expensive. And then I think in my previous video, I've also talked about this. There was also like strong demand for small cars. Kaya parang ang hirap humanap ng options mo during that time, especially in Queensland. I'm not sure if that's still the same. But best for you to look around on different websites and then you can compare for the prices. Alright, let me quickly jump in YouTube. Hey everyone, let me know by the way if it's the first time that we're meeting. I would definitely like to say hi. And I hope this discussion is helping with your plan somehow. All right. Let us go to the next slide. So the next thing we focus about is Medicare, childcare subsidy, tax file number, MyGov account, and I started our application for all of these government forms within the first 2 weeks of our arrival. I have created separate videos about this kasi medyo madugo yung details. Oo. But just to give you an idea, Medicare timeline, from application to actually receiving our Medicare card, it took us 3 months. And then for the childcare subsidy, it took us 2 months. I have a friend who took a bit longer to get the childcare subsidy approval. I guess it depends on where you are living. We are based in Queensland and Brisbane. I think she's based in Sydney. But yun nga, it'll depend where you are, I guess, the number of application they are processing. But it always helped to ring the toll number that they have. And then ang tip ng friend ko is to ring early in the morning, na hindi pa sila masyadong busy. But ako naman, personally, I haven't really been lucky. I tried to ring the toll-free number, but I couldn't really get hold of a staff member. So it was a lot easier for me to just go to a Centrelink office, book for an appointment, and then go from there. My husband, when he does try to call them, he gets hold of someone. So I guess yun nga, it just depends of how lucky you are. Oh, and then in my other videos, I haven't really had a chance to cover the healthcare insurance or lifetime health cover loading. So just know that in Australia, when you apply for Medicare, you can have an option to get a lifetime health cover letter. What's the relevance of that? Only because in Australia, they are encouraging people to get health insurance. And then medyo mahigpit sila dito na in a sense na if you have not taken out and maintained private patient hospital cover from the year you turn 31, and you decide to take it later in life, you will pay a 2% LHC loading on top of your premium for every year you are aged over 30. So, ano ibig sabihin lang nun is, kunyari, nakatira ka sa Australia, after you turn 31, kapag wala ka pang health insurance, mas mataas yung premium na nababayaran mo. Translation. In Australia, they are encouraging people to take up health insurance. So if you still don't have health insurance, after you turn age 31, then you'll pay extra for the premium. And then obviously, there's an exception if you just arrived in Australia. Di paano naman tayo? Di ba kararating lang natin? So that's why, pag nag-apply ka sa Medicare, you have the option to apply for a lifetime health cover letter, and I'll just tell you, the letter will indicate that you've just arrived. Therefore, if you take up a health insurance in Australia, hindi pa mag-apply yung 2% na additional on your premium. And then I guess it's your preference whether to take healthcare insurance or not. As a New Zealand citizen, we qualify for Medicare. However, upon contemplation, upon considering other factors, we decided to still take healthcare insurance. Now, we are reviewing how much cover we actually need, but let me ponder more on that later this year. Kasi you can get different covers like silver, bronze, gold, ganyan. But anyway, for us, I think we'll have to look at our finances exactly, how much we are spending for health, and then how much we are needing to pay for example, for a Medicare levy, and then maybe dwell more on that information and then tidy it up come next year. So I know that this is a lot. If this is the first time you're hearing about Medicare, childcare subsidy, tax file number, your MyGov account, I know that this is a lot. But like I said, I have covered these topics individually. But if anything, these are just keywords, diba? Now you can research more and look further later on. All right. All right. If you haven't already, please click subscribe. Diba, nagulat din ako sa nag-pop up. And by the way, special thank you. I have to mention this actually. Special thank you so much to Anne. Anne has bought me a coffee. I think this was just last night. Thank you so much for the sweet comment, and thank you so much for the contribution, donation, ganyan. Thank you so much. It really means so much. And thank you for all those who are supporting my channel. It takes a while to put all of this information together and prepare for live videos and to prepare for short videos. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for liking, for subscribing, for commenting, for sharing my videos, and for those who even send me messages na hindi nagsiskip ng ads. I really, really appreciate that. And if you want to support the channel, you can also buy me a coffee by clicking that link, buymeacoffee.com/binibiningver. Maraming salamat po. Alright, let's briefly talk about rental property and utilities, which I have already discussed before. I just want to add on, let me just grab my notes here. About the rental property, so just to share, we ended up finding a rental property in Brisbane, and then it cost $565 per week, but we were actually paying a little bit more, like in centavos, only because we were paying via debit card. So parang instead of 565, it's actually like 566. And then to secure the property, we required the lease, the agent required the lease to be signed, and then the first 2 weeks of rent to be paid within 24 hours. So we had to pay $1,130. And then there's also a bond, which is $2,260. There you have an option to pay the bond electronically or complete a form and do it in the tenancy office. All right. Topics I haven't covered yet, all about insurance, home and content, car, life, mortgage and income protection. If you want a dedicated video for these topics, then please let me know. Right off the bat, I have to say, when I was doing my research, life insurance, the premium is cheaper in New Zealand than Australia, so it's more expensive here in Australia. And then in terms of mortgage and income protection, you can actually include that as part of your super. Mind you, the life insurance, you can also include it in super, but you have to read the fine lines, because for some superannuation which offers life insurance, they only offer it up to the age of 70 years old. So just have a look at that. For mortgage and income protection, if it's part of the super, then yes, it's cheaper in Australia. But for life insurance, it's cheaper in New Zealand. And then for home and content insurance, car insurance, I feel like they're relatively similar, New Zealand and Australia. All right. Furniture and appliances, syempre pa, once you have your new rental accommodation, or if you already purchased your home, di ang saya ng mag-shopping. Here in Australia, they have IKEA, they also have Costco talaga, nabanggit ko pa yung Costco. They also have Kmart, Target, Big W. Wala silang warehouse. They don't have warehouse here, but they have similar brands, same brands like Harvey Norman, Bunnings, so familiar brands from New Zealand to Australia. And then they also have JB Hi-Fi. But if you are after cheap appliances, I recommend going to Good Guys, because they always have a sale, and I feel like it's cheaper to get your appliances in Good Guys. And they also have Office Works here. So for example, for office supplies, your printers, this one, it's from Office Works. I feel like the price is more reasonable compared to JB Hi-Fi. But it depends. If you feel like shopping at JB Hi-Fi, edi go, diba? Go sa go lang. Alright. daily groceries. Now, there is a beautiful, well-written article by Emma Witz. I'm just sharing you her chart. She actually provided a very good comparison of Australian and New Zealander like grocery prices. So she compared Countdown and Woolworths. So Woolworths and Countdown, they're owned by the same company. So I think this is a very fair comparison. And this is in New Zealand dollars as of April 7, 2023. If you get a chance, Google her article. It's really worth the read. But in summary, based on my personal experience, the prices of fruits and vegetables is definitely cheaper in Australia, especially if you go to companies like T-Bones. This is not Countdown, this is a different company, but they always have like weekly sales as well. But based on the chart here by Emma, you can even see that baby spinach, it's cheaper in Australia. Bananas is slightly more expensive, but broccoli is cheaper. Peaches, carrots, cherry tomatoes, blueberries, apples, potatoes, it's generally cheaper in Australia. And when I was looking this for more information about this, I found out that in Australia, they actually have some food and beverages that are GST free, so they're not taxed. So I guess that's why they're a bit cheaper here, but I could be wrong. I don't know. So example of GST free foods and beverages would be bread and bread rolls without sweet coating, cooking ingredients such as flours, sugar, premixes, cake mixes, fats and oils for cooking, unflavored milk, cream, cheese and eggs, spices, sauce, condiments, bottled drinking water, fruit or vegetable juice of at least 90% by volume of juice or fruit or vegetables, tea and coffee unless ready to drink, baby food and infant formula, all meats for human consumption except prepared meals or savory snacks, fruit, vegetable, fish, and soup, spreads for bread, breakfast cereals. Wala lang. I just thought I'll share that. But again, locally, if you have like shops like, I think it's called T-Bones, that's the one that we have here in Aspley. Every week they have like something special on special or on sale. So I think it's worth going there, especially if mahilig ka sa apple, o diba? Di mag-apple ka. Isang kilong apple, 188 lang, diba? What else can I tell you? Hold on. Question of the day. Are you also moving to... if you are, which city will you be moving and why? Please let me know in the comment section below. Let me actually just move my map a little bit. Can I move my map? Maybe not. When I was looking some census up, there's actually the number of New Zealanders moving from New Zealand to Australia. There's a lot moving to Queensland, and then there's a lot moving to Perth. And then I get asked sometimes, where is the best place to go? I think it's really depending on your preferences. Like I said, I have friends who move to New South Wales because they have family there, they have friends there, so it'll just be a lot easier for them to settle. I have friends who move to Victoria as well because they're after the lifestyle, that European vibe. I have friends who move to Perth as well because properties, real estate, it's reasonably cheaper in Perth compared to the other states. Even in Queensland at the moment, it's actually getting more expensive, especially within the Brisbane area. Queensland is reasonably good, I guess, for salary of nurses. It's very attractive, private or public, in Queensland. So yeah, I'll just be totally about your preferences and then what you know of the area and what you're hoping to achieve from there. All right. So daily life in Australia, I've been in the settlement curve of where you are so excited and then you're sad, stressed, angry, and I feel like I am more in the happy emoji curve at the moment. But if you are still like in the angry phase or in the sad phase, I guess I hope you get out of that feeling and that you settle eventually. I hope you find friends, and I hope work life will also be great to you. Um, when we moved from New Zealand to Australia last year, it was really really tough. Um, because I guess you know how when you are thinking that something would happen and it's taking a while to happen, and suddenly it happens suddenly. Yeah, it's really difficult when you don't have control of that, when you are moving in such a quick timeline. And like I said, when I only had 2 weeks to sort out everything because my jobs will be starting then, and I was working a full-time job to begin with, and we also had to apply for our residency application. Now, if you are a New Zealand citizen, there's a new pathway and it's a lot easier. But during our time, it wasn't granted, and we were worried about what our status, I guess, is going to be in this new country. So we applied for residency as well. So all of that is happening as we were moving to this new country, new work environment, new people. So it was very stressful, to say the least. The nice people that we met were really, really good. I feel so, so lucky to have those, good people around us. However, there were also people who were not as nice, and I guess, it was really sad that that there were some sad moments as well. But it is part of life. So yeah, I'm just sharing the settlement curve in preparation for your move, just so you would be able to expect, I guess, this feeling as well. They are normal. They're part of our moving to Australia journey. And if you are already in Australia, let me know. Did you have difficulty settling in? Was it easy enough? Was it as you hoped it would be? I'd really definitely want to hear from you. Okay. And otherwise, we also had some opportunities to actually explore a little bit of Queensland, um, a little bit of Bribie Island, a little bit of Gold Coast. We actually went to Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast. And a fascinating thing that I observed, the locals would recommend going to Sunshine Coast. I think that's their preferences. But in terms of like tourist destinations and activities, then I would definitely recommend going to Gold Coast. But yeah, it just depends, I guess, what flavor you're after. But definitely, my favorite spot so far is Bribie Island. I love how blue the ocean is. Because sometimes it's a bit, the color of the Brisbane River, sometimes it's a bit not as blue. So yeah, anyway, that's just me being petty, I guess. So definitely Bribie Island, highly recommend. It's a beautiful place. And this picture here at the far left, that's in Ipswich. We had a Filipino gathering maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. It was really fun. They had a beautiful setup in Ipswich. They have like monitors and screens and music. So, man, parang slowly settling in finally for me. It took a while, but here I am. And yeah, I would definitely want to hear from you guys. I thought of putting all of these items together in a slideshow just so I can also see what other topics I should do. Let me know if there's a particular topic that you want to be discussed first. But I think I'll try and add a little bit more of the groceries and the expenses because it's definitely interesting for me as well. Mind you, the locals here, and even in the news as well, they would say that there's inflation. It's definitely higher than what it was maybe years ago. But for me, coming from New Zealand to Australia, in total, the groceries is still a bit cheaper here. I guess it depends where you are living because, like I said, we're not really living in a major city like Sydney or Sydney or Melbourne. So I'm not sure how that would compare to where we're living now. But for me personally, I feel like I can buy more fruits and vegetables here compared to when I was in New Zealand. But that's just me. Like I said. And anyway, if you enjoyed watching this video, then please share it to your friends, or watch my next video about the salary of nurses in New Zealand versus Australia featuring public hospitals. As always, I wish you all the best with your journey and I hope you will be blessed. I'll see you soon. Bye!